Best books to read in French for beginners. If that's something that you're interested in, then keep watching. Hi everyone, c'est moi Patricia. Bienvenue à ma chaîne. Welcome to my channel. This is the channel where we talk about tips and tricks and resources to help you learn French. My French tutor actually is the one that put me on it. It's called Short Stories in French. It's on my Kindle. But it's on my Kindle. It's by Ollie Richards and Richard Simcott. So it is for beginners. So that means if you are level A0 through A2, maybe even B1, then this would be something that's a very helpful thing to look into and to purchase this book. And if you're like me, I have a lot of physical copies of different books that I keep in my library, and it's a little bit easier for me to just have things on the Kindle, even though I really love being able to hold a book. I like to even smell the pages. I've always been a fan of books and going to the library. That's something that my father had that used to do for my sister and I when we were younger. And so that's always kind of stuck with me. And so whenever someone mentions a book or recommends a book for me to read, I immediately jump on it because I'm an avid reader. I love to read. And now that I'm learning French, I've been learning it since 2019, off and on. Now I'm trying to be consistent. So I've been learning it since then. I have taken up the challenge of reading in French, which of course helps to improve the French learning experience because the goal is to become fluent. All right, fluent meaning holding a conversation, being able to understand what I'm reading when I'm traveling, being able to ask for directions and so forth. And understand what I'm hearing as well. So let's get into it. This book it says in the small titles here, short stories in French, read for pleasure at your level and learn French the fun way. Sometimes learning a language can be a little bit of a slog to go through. So real quickly, I'm just going to say that this one had different stories within it. Of course, that's what short stories, the format is about. And so it's got about 8 stories. Off the bat that I enjoyed was the 6-step reading process. The 6-step reading process, it helps to have a strategy on how to learn the language and how to really apply what you're learning, right? One of the steps that they mentioned is to look at the illustration and the chapter title. So each story has an illustration, which I really enjoy, so that you can have an understanding of what the plot may be, and hopefully it does intrigue you and interest you to jump into it. From there, you're going to read it through the end of the chapter. Read each one and see if you can understand what you read without translating, without trying to figure it out completely. Just read it, absorb it, let it get into you. For me, when I'm trying to practice French, I find that if I've been speaking in English and thinking in English, because I've been at work, for example, all day, if I decide to try to learn at the end of the day, then my mind is still focused on English thinking and speaking and relating to people in that way. So it takes a little bit to jump into French. With the 6-step reading process, I think this is really helpful in that it really brings a strategy on not just reading the stories in this book, but something that you can take with you into other books as well when you're learning to read French. Very helpful to have an understanding of what you're reading, the approach, and that way you're building that neurological pathway. I think it's called neural pathway. That helps build that habit, that muscle on how you're interpreting the information, how you receive it and process it. So therefore, it helps with your journey with learning a language. Read to the end of that chapter for that short story that you're reading. See what you understood without looking anything up. Okay, that is one of the strategies that they mentioned here. From there, it says, even if you find it difficult, do not worry. And I do have a video about this as well that talks about the emotional side of learning French. It's a big deal. Learning a language in general, it's a big deal because there's an emotional component to that I did mention. When you're reading this, don't worry. Do not stress yourself. Just let it go. Relax and learn the language. We're here together. It says here that you will improve with each chapter, which is a positive affirmation for yourself. You will improve. The more you learn, even if you get frustrated or discouraged, you will improve if you keep going. No one stays in the same spot or space if they are trying their hardest to grow and to learn in something. Third step here, after you're done reading that chapter, read it again. Read it again. It's important to do so. In this part, it says when you're reading it again, focus on the details. So the first time you're just reading it just to make sure you understand. The next time you're going to focus on the details. I really like this book a lot just because they are providing the strategy right away. I've noticed that some books don't. And I've got 3 sets of books that I ordered from Amazon that are, they came in a pack, but you can buy them separately as well, that didn't provide the instructions on how to approach language learning from a reading perspective. And I just love the fact that there was encouragement with this one. It starts off with instruction on how to approach it, so you're not just flailing, jumping into something and then feeling discouraged and then putting it down, because that's what can happen. So nice and steady, smooth and easy, we're going into this, okay? You're gonna read it again, and if you'd like, it says focus more on the story details than before, but otherwise simply just read it again, absorb it. Why are we saying that? Because whatever language you've been operating out of the entire day, unless you start your day in the morning, most likely you'll be back in that language that you know throughout the rest of your day. You want it to absorb, you want it to stick. So that is key. That's super important here. Once you reach to the end of that chapter, for that same story that you read for the second time, now read the summary. It's saying to read the summary again, so my bad. Read the summary from the first time. Read it again. Read the summary again. See what you understand. Review the vocabulary list. So there is a vocabulary list, which I love. For one, I do have a video somewhere here that talks about just reviewing vocabulary from a flashcard perspective. This is from my classes that I was taking with Cuckoo French classes in the New York City area. Check that video out where I give a review on those flashcards. I still use them. They're super helpful. They're great. You can also create your own flashcards with the vocabulary list that's offered in this book, as well as whatever you learn, write it down. There's a reason why they recommend flashcards for kids, because it helps. It gets your mind to stick that into your memory. I don't even know if that sentence makes sense, but whatever. Here we are. And if you're unsure about any of the meaning of the words, as it says, add it, scan it to your list, okay? From there, step number 5 is to work through the comprehension questions. So there are some questions to make sure that you understood what you're reading. Super duper important, okay? And at that point, you should have some main understanding of what you just read, and make sure you do it over and over and over again. That is the beauty of learning. Learning requires repetition. Repetition. Super exciting here. So for this one, I'm gonna pull out a story real quickly. I'm not gonna read the whole story simply because I'm not gonna embarrass myself here. I'm working on my pronunciation, but there are illustrations that are drawn, which I like. This one is En France, l'avion a atterri. And if you have the Kindle version, if you decide to purchase it, it has those words highlighted, underlined. So there's an opportunity to go back and pull it up, which the Kindle drops you right into the vocabulary list, but we don't want to do that right away, okay? So we want to go back and make sure that we understood what we're reading so that we have the information at hand. Follow the 6 steps. Follow the 6 steps. Alrighty? This is considered one of the best books to read in French for beginners. So follow the 6 steps. Chapitre 2. So we're going to read this one, Chapitre 2, La Filette. And by the way, I do have a quick video. I went live of me reading in French because we get better slowly but surely. La Capsule. This is the story I'm going to read called La Capsule. This is the image that they've got for it. It's got 2 guys that look like, well, it's a female and a male, excuse me. I thought it was a guy. Oops. It looks like it's kind of outer spacey, and this person laying in a capsule. So, La Capsule. Chapitre 1. La découverte, the discovery. La découverte means basically like the discovery of this person. Il y a siècles que le premier humain a voyagé vers d'autres planètes, which says there is 100 years, il y a 100 years ago, il y a is the time frame, sorry. 100 years ago que le premier humain, since it's been 100 years ago since the first human à voyager traveled vers d'autres planètes, to different planets. Sur la Terre, l'environnement était devenu mauvais. On the Earth, the environment had become bad. Mauvais means bad. Nous avions besoin d'espace. We need a new place. We need a place, d'espace. Nous voulions la liberté. We wanted freedom. Nous voulions la liberté. And I'm just reading it this way, but I want you to understand that there is a way to read this. as we talked about. Alors, nous avons colonisé d'autres mondes. So, we colonized different planets, les uns après les autres, the one after the other. Les uns après les autres. Practice makes perfect. So, I am reading this. I enjoy this. This is really good practice. Read out loud. I recommend that. I recommend getting this book. I think it is very helpful. I think it is good as far as one of the best books to read for French beginners. With that being said, go ahead and hit the like button if you like this video. I hope you did. It helps me out in the algorithm. Thank you so much. Also, I do have other videos too, so check them out, as well as subscribe if you'd like to. Thanks so much, guys. Salut.